It's been nearly 100 years since the 1915 Panama-California Exposition in Balboa Park. And though the Centennial celebration had a rocky start, the park's party is set to roll out with a kickoff event this weekend with December Nights. Joining me with a preview of the year-long events is my guests, Stephen Liu with the Balboa Park Conservancy and Jim Kidrick, President and CEO of San Diego Air and Space Museum and board member with Balboa Park Cultural Partnership. And welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Stephen, what's going to be different about this year's December Nights?
There's going to be two great new things that are happening this year. One of them is that it's fantastic for kids and for families, is that we're having a zip line that's going to be behind the Natural History Museum, right alongside the fig tree. So it's 30 foot high, 200 feet long. So it'll be $10 per ride, and it's going to be fantastic. The other thing is, leading into 2015, the Centennial, during our official opening ceremony and tree lighting, we're going to have a look back component that's going to be attended and introduced by the mayor, Kevin Faulconer, the Assembly Speaker, Tony Atkins, Congresswoman Susan Davis, and other elected officials and community representatives.
And I'll ask both of you this, but I'll continue with you, Stephen. How much preparation has actually gone into getting the park ready to launch the Centennial Party?
The planning actually has taken all year. Almost after the day that it ends, we're back planning for the next year. But it's taken about a month to 2 months. The park institutions have planned this out. All the stakeholders have done it throughout the whole year. So it's a long process.
Now, Jim, the city's catchphrase for this celebration this year is elevate, celebrate, and promote. Give us a few highlights from each of these categories, how that's going to happen in this coming year.
Well, as you know, the organizations, attractions, and institutions in the park have been planning actually for a number of years for 2015. So they've all stepped up their internal exhibits to provide something very, very special. So we're ready in every one of those categories. And at times there hasn't been a lot of good press about 2015, but what we want the public to know is it's going to be absolutely spectacular and that there's a lot of planning.
Before we get to some of those special events, who's paying for the infrastructure improvements on the Elevate portion and the celebration events?
Well, it's a combination of the city and certainly those people who want to donate and invest in the park. There are many, many projects because we're a little bit behind in our infrastructure improvements, but the Conservancy and other organizations are working on that.
And Stephen, you're fundraising as well?
We are. One of the big projects that we're doing next year is that we're doing the rehabilitation and the enhancement of the botanical building. That is one project out of so many that need to be done. So we'll be fundraising alongside other stakeholders to do projects just like that.
All right, and let's talk about some of these special events. Tell us, first of all, as far as some of the exhibits and things like that we might be seeing being rolled out over the next year.
Well, certainly an example at the Air and Space Museum, we're going to have To the Extreme Math Alive, which will open in early 2015, as well as you're aware of the King Tut over at the Natural History Museum. The Museum of Man is opening up the California Tower for tours, which is the first time in many, 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 many years. So we're excited about a number of things that are going to go on.
And Jim, there's going to be a New Year's Eve celebration as well. Tell us about that.
Well, the Organ Society is going to have a concert basically on December 31st, and it will, in a weird sort of way, even though we have the bookends, opening and closing of December Nights, it's really going to kind of kick off that entire year as we always do on New Year's Eve.
Well, Stephen, let's talk about this kickoff for December Nights for the celebration. It's crowded. It's traditionally crowded.
Exactly.
Have there been any improvements in the park as far as parking, bathrooms, how people travel to and from the event?
Well, as you know, like you said, that there are a lot of people that are going to be there. About 300,000 people are expected to visit for the two-day event. We do a very good job with having enough parking. We have two free lots, one at City College and one at Petco for $5. And so they'll have shuttles that are coming back and forth to the park. We'll have limited free parking at the zoo and also paid parking through the parking lots that are at the park.
So 300,000, now you're in the park a lot. Is there a time frame that people should get there to maybe avoid that?
Well,
Big
I'd get
rush.
there early. You know, it starts at about 3 o'clock on Friday, and we're going to tell you get there early and perhaps stay late. All of the many attractions in the park are going to be ready. We're going to be open and free and ready to go with a number of activities right inside. We'll have Santa Claus and, you know, choral, you know, and all sorts of activities.
All right, Jim Kidrick and Stephen Liu, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.